Well, good morning, everyone. My name is Prem Gopinath. I'm the VP of Product Engineering. I deal with primarily running the development in division as well as anything related to the architecture. So what I plan on doing a very quick rundown of the security and awesome security enhancements that we've been working on in the last couple of years. So Dave touched on a few of these topics. I'd like to delve a little bit in detail and do it. These are some of the key security enhancements that we've been working on. So our primary focus has been on an end-to-end application and data security. And then we worked on some audit and administration enhancements. Then we focus a lot on how we deploy much more efficiently on the cloud. How do we improve the performance? But most importantly, how do we secure the data as well as the application on the cloud? And then how do we bring the security into our code development process? So that security is not an afterthought, but it's actually part of our entire development process. And finally, I'd like to wrap it up with where we stand on governance, some of the enhancements and improvements we've been making on that front. So as most of you have been using that, so one of the big security feature that we added recently to our product line is a single sign-on capability. What this allows you to do is it allows you to make use of your existing login infrastructure authentication providers, be it whether you have Active Directory or you use Azure AD or Google Auth or any of the systems. It allows you to use the same sign-on experience. So this allows you to brings multi-factor authentication, as well as if you have any security policies that you want to enforce when people leave the company or when new people are joined to the company, password restrictions, and so on. So that way, you can piggyback on top of your enterprise security infrastructure. Now, as a side effect of that, what we've also done is we completely revamped how do you manage users in a multi-tenant environment. Suppose if you are a company like CNH, for instance, having multiple tenants from different sites, how do you centrally manage all the users? How do you provision the users? So one quick thing I would like to show is, like, for example, if I have multi-site users, if I have a power user who likes to work on different applications from plant A and plant B or site A and site B, that process has gotten a lot more easier and much more easier to do it. In the past, you had to go provision them on independent systems, but now you can centrally do that. And also we have a global admin who can centrally do all these user management from an audit perspective. So I will touch upon the data layer security also in here. So one of the other core features is from the end-to-end security is how do you secure all the communications? So be it whether you're using the authoring application or a web browser application or the new Android app that we've released, we want to ensure that all those communications and all the different traffic that flows is all completely secure. So we are completely compatible with the TLS 1.3, which is the latest standard in HTTPS communication. And even on the application side, it's not just outside we've done enhancements, we've done enhancement even within the application server. So we have grouped all the front-end facing applications, which are protected by our auth service, by the same single sign-on system. And all the backend services, even those communications are protected and is making use of HTTPS. And finally, on the data layer side, which is what the previous slide was about, we have enabled a couple of very key technologies. We completely support TDE. TDE is it basically is a technology from SQL Server that allows you to encrypt the data at rest. So even when the data is physically stored on the disk, it is encrypted using X509 certificates. And also we completely support secure communication even between our backend services. This is behind your firewall, but we still allow for securing those communications from the backend applications to the database is also secure using trusted encrypted connections of SQL Server. And finally, for all our service accounts, the accounts that are used for accessing the database, we make use of secure service accounts. And on top of that, even all the different users, when they log in, we have a robust role-based security system, which can provide fine-grained controls over saying that user A belongs to this role and they can do these operations. So as we're introducing new modules and functionalities, we always take this into account and make as much as possible all the different functionalities and features controllable at a much more fine-grained level. The next I would like to talk about is audit and administration enhancements. So these are some of the new features available. For example, you can, if you are for SSO customers, if you want to disable the Proplanner authentication, like you want to be completely secure and use only your authentication, that's something that's possible now. We also added inactivity timeouts. So if you want your application to automatically time out, you'll see this very commonly in some banking applications or in some of the other applications where if you leave the browser unattended for, it basically times out after some time saying you have a few minutes to log in or your time's out. Then we also have support for an enterprise-wide privacy notice alert. So every time you log into any application, be it the authoring or the shop floor or mobile app, we can show you you can control what message is being shown from a privacy notice standpoint. And for the multi-tenant, as I already said, we have a centralized user and management system. We have an account management system and also logging. So as Dave mentioned earlier, we have increased the auditing and logging capabilities in the software so that whenever you do any key operations in Assembly Planner, like you're adding a user or you're changing some preferences or deleting a user, all those information is being completely logged. All those actions are logged. So this is great from two reasons, from an audit standpoint, and also from if suppose something does happen, it allows you to go back and troubleshoot as to what happened. So all these logs, you can access them as well as export them to other systems as well. And in the cloud, we have made significant investment in the cloud deployments from a performance and support standpoint. But what I would like to specifically talk about here is what we're doing to keep your data secure on the cloud. So it's not just on-premises. So all the on-premises security that I was talking about also carries over to the cloud. But on the cloud, you have the capability, you have additional security that you can leverage from Microsoft Azure platform. We can isolate your data and all your applications at two levels. We can do it at a subscription level. So this could be a subscription that we can create, or it could be one of your own subscriptions that you can give us access, and we can create all these resources on your subscription. And we are also isolating the entire set of applications and data at the resource group level. So resource group is like a kind of isolation feature available in Azure that separates and partitions out each customer's data from others. And we also have the ability to leverage the application gateway feature. What it provides is all your traffic flows through this application gateway software, which provides advanced firewalls that actually those policies are being updated continuously by Azure based on the latest Open Web Application Security project. So these are the frontline policies help to secure the different against the various threats on the web. And then we can do IP whitelisting. What that means is we can say that, okay, even though it's the whole application is hosted on Azure, we can say it's only accessible from these specific IP address ranges, which could be from your companies, or it could be from certain VPNs that you provide. Also, all the internal communications within Azure, we don't use any passwords. What we do is we use Azure Service Principles. So these are secure accounts managed in Azure. And where we have integration with other external systems, your on-premises systems, we do make use of Azure Key Vault to store all the application secrets, and we employ key rotations so that every 6 months, these secrets and certificates gets recycled. So there's a lot more that I could go in, but in the interest of time, I can move on. So earlier I spoke about security is not an afterthought. We want to integrate security as part of our entire software development lifecycle. So this is one of our efforts in doing that. So we basically purchased license from Veracode to do 3 main types of testing: the static analysis, dynamic, and software composition analysis. It's basically the static analysis. It goes and scans our entire source code, and it goes and says, where are the vulnerabilities? Are we using the right source? We are using the right method calls, and whether there is any insecure calls that we can address. The dynamic analysis performs penetration testing of our software, where it goes and tries to hack into our software and sees if there is any open ports or anything like that are vulnerabilities. The software composition analysis is basically, it's a third-party package analysis. So it comes and says, okay, you are using some open source components, like for example, Angular. Are you on the right version of that? Is there any available threats on that has been published? Do you need to upgrade them? So it's like a 3-pronged attack. And then we are basically, and what it allows us to do is it runs through all our code and gives a comprehensive set of results tests. And right now, most of our products are VL3 plus or higher certified on the Veracode, and we are striving to keep improving that certification levels on the Veracode. The next is, how do you secure the Proplanner infrastructure? I'm talking about is the servers, be it on-premises on our Proplanner network here or on the cloud on Azure. How do we keep them? How do we secure those? So for that, we use the Rapid7 platform, which goes and does the scanning of internal as well as external endpoints and says whether all our operating systems are updated and patched, whether all the servers certificates are all up to date. and whether any vulnerabilities are you running outdated operating systems, are you running outdated patches, and so on. So we make use of that. And once we have identified threats, we outsource them to our dedicated IT outsourcing companies who can actually go in and mitigate these risks. So finally, on the governance side, most of this information is available on our website as well under the governance link. So we have our securities are all secure facilities with lock facilities with badge readers, and we track who comes in and goes out. We also have secure processes in place from a hiring standpoint or when people leave our company. We are EAR compliant as well as ITAR compliance from a compliance standpoint. This is particularly helpful for people in the defense customers who are in the defense industries. We are also compliant with all the US export laws. And we do have a $10 million corporate insurance against any these kind of threats or issues or anything that could happen. And we have a privacy policy where we take it very seriously of not to use your data for any purposes. So we get, even if you have to show demo, we get your consent. And we already spoke about the hosting security on Azure, and we are GDPR compliant as well. So finally, with that, I'd like to say, like, security is something that we've taken very seriously in the last 2 years, and we made significant investments, not just from the product standpoint, but completely even from our development lifecycle, right? From the concept of design all the way to the deployment security and how do we manage that. And this is an ongoing commitment that we are having. So this is not like a once in a time. We basically, as new technologies come in, new threats come in, we will be making this ongoing commitment to improve the security so that all the way from your data is completely secure, being whether from the product all the way to the data at rest. So that's a quick whirlwind tour of the security. I apologize for rushing through it, but in the interest of time, I had to summarize it. So if you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer. If not, I'll be available after lunch as well for you to have any specific questions that you might have about security or the architecture.
Thanks a lot, Prem. I appreciate it.